Hi, welcome to TVR's World Special Dialogue, where today on April 29th, we celebrate International Dance Day. So not only as dancers, everyone in the world, dance is something that unites us together, apart from any cultural or political differences, but dance can make us into one. Why today? Because since 1982, UNESCO has commemorated and made this day into International Dance Day. It's the same as the birth of the founding father of modern ballet, Jean-Georges Nover. That is the ballet that you know today, and to dig more about that, we are now with the extinguished guests. We have three in the house. And we will talk more about International Dance Day and about dance scene in Indonesia, how it's progressing and everything, and how it will move forward in the future. Please welcome the one that's next to me. We have Nala Amrita, dancer, singer, actor, and also producer from Eki Dance Company, and also curator from Festival Musical Indonesia. And then we also have Kenya Rinonce, Dance Committee of Jakarta Art Council, founder Yayasan Tejo Larasmadia, and Drupadi ID. Hi. And also David Rafael Tandayu, Dance Committee of Jakarta Art Council, and also a member of DRKR Collective, which is a short of Dari Rumah ke Rumah. Okay. We'll talk about that later on, but now let's talk about International Dance Day. Yeah. It's been a long time since 1982, and maybe our viewers would like to know more about the history. Can you share it with us?
Yeah, I think what you've already said is true. It started from the Jean as a father of ballet. But then I think he added the modern ideas and performances, and he also kind of initiated that dance is actually more than just technique or physical movement, but it's more than that. It's convey the emotion and also about to tell a story. So that's why we have to commemorate it, because yeah, dance is actually anything about it, especially about life.
Jean, the ballet that they practice is only focusing on the costume and the sceneries.
Okay.
And not on the movement and the physicalities and the emotion part of the dancers.
Yeah.
So that makes people think that Jean created dance. Because dance is all about the emotion and the physicality of the dancer, not only the costumes and the scenery. That's why it's called International Dance Day on Jean's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I know. And that's also, you just gave an explanation from a dancer's point of view as well.
Yes.
And you feel like more related to it too while you're dancing, because you have to put the emotions, the feeling into the movement. It's like collaborating in your whole body, right? Yeah. And maybe Dave would like to add something?
This is about the celebration of International Dance Day. I think we also have to celebrate internationally, because nowadays art has intersection with other things. For example, in my field, which is writing and research, it has connection with social science, for example. So we can extract the social benefit of dance.
Yeah, as in the introduction, I mentioned that dance can unite people, and I think dance is one of the effective tools. That's why I would strongly agree with Dave that dance should be celebrated. It's like celebrating life. Nala would agree with that too, because while you're dancing, you're like feeling so lively. And Kenya also was a dancer, right?
Yeah, traditional dancer. Especially in Indonesia, we cannot really separate people or society from dance, because many of the places in Indonesia still need it as a part of a ceremonial, traditional ceremonial thingy. So, for example, we need to start it with dance before we start to to show the gratefulness for us, the I don't know, the panen, it's like rice field thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
so,
true, yeah.
Yeah, for food. So really, we cannot separate dance from Indonesian society itself.
Also, if I may add, today dance interpreted widely. For example, we had pandemic already. We can find on social medias at pandemic times there are many dancers doing dance later editing as one video. I see that it's not just about the relation of dance and technology, but how dance can be like stress relieving or recover because suddenly we have changes circumstances.
Yeah, on pandemic, like people make dance videos, and it's something that actually like how you can feel alive.
Yeah.
That is actually true, and celebrating life is very important. And how do people celebrate International Dance Day?
For me, I just post it on my Instagram, and for me also, I like to post the behind the scene on the International Dance Day, so people would know like what do dancers do every day and what do they do to prepare for a performance. So I like to post the behind the scenes of it.
Yeah, because that's the struggle.
They would know the struggle. They would know the struggle of putting on that shoes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, what people know is actually when it comes to dancer and performer, it's about a glam and applause. But then we have a lot of hard work behind it. So I think it's good when Nala, as a young dancer, show the process behind it, because, you know, like, especially nowadays, young generation just want to pose it like in a very good way, but actually there's a lot of hard work behind it. And it's funny because when it comes to International World Dance Day, we actually, who works in it, like every single day we celebrate it. Like we never really stop thinking about how to make a really good movement in Indonesia. I mean, like especially in Indonesia, dance and performing arts. So I think how we celebrate it every day, but then we just have to learn and remember about the historical, modern ideas inside from Nouvelle itself. So yeah.
That's an interesting point. I would like to go on that later on, but maybe Dave can add, how do you celebrate International Dance Day, or how do you, as a researcher as well, see it, how the world celebrate International Dance Day?
Yeah, I think we cannot, by now we cannot put dance just in the dance box, but have to see the surrounding, that it have possibility to link with the set context of social, religion, political nature, and many things. So it can produce knowledge.
Okay. Can I pick up again from Kenya's point of view, that you say younger generations now would like to just post it or like showcase the glam of it, of the performers, and how maybe they also like to join the dancing community to be seen. Like, how is it different from the older generation?
Yeah, I think it's different because the technology is really, you know, like developed fastly, especially after the pandemic, like everything now on screen. So compared to what happened with our parents, it's just like their dance, and maybe like people who's in East Indonesia doesn't know about it, but if we dance here, I think our friends in Europe knowing that we have a rehearsal. So I think the difference is about the technology, but when it comes to the process, I believe Nala also have the, like the habit and, you know, like the athlete habit, because I don't think dancer could just sit back and relax. It's like they have to train like every single day. So what makes it different is how we see that when it comes to the performance and the showcase, we need a lot of people to work on it. So I think there's no star shine bright alone. That's why we need all the ecosystem in it. That's why we need researcher, we need like a producer, we need like you, for example, the media who help us to communicate what we're doing. So that's how we combine all the role to make sure that dance in Indonesia could actually work.
And that's why we now all celebrating International Dance Day
Yeah, that's-
together. And for the first time, I can even put my point shoes on
Look at that. Look at that.
to host something here.
Yeah.
And then if we go into deeper and more specifically with the Indonesia, how Indonesia celebrate this day, because International Dance Day, they have host city to celebrate, right? If I'm not mistaken, like they had it in Shanghai, they had it in Cuba as well. How about Indonesia? When did the first time Indonesia officially join?
World.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Yeah.
I think since the beginning that announced it is celebrated internationally, Indonesia already joined the hype. But then when it comes to what kind of celebration that we usually do, it's usually a festival. For example, like in Solo, there's a Solo Menari. Like they invite 100 or maybe more dance community from all around Indonesia to just gather there in Solo, and then they kind of like doing the showcase. So that's how we celebrate. But then after pandemic, now we open our eyes that when it comes to celebration, it doesn't need to be like that festive. But it can, it's not like as simple, but we can also show the research result that we do in dance. So people can read it through the website or to the social media. So I mean, nowadays people celebrate the World Dance Day not just by having a showcase, but also from the academic point of view, from also the critics' point of view. And for example, like the media itself, give a stage for us to talk more about the situation nowadays in this dance industry.
So actually, I just, a friend of mine from another country told me, she asked first, how's the pay in Indonesia for dancers? And I said, it's good, I can live with that, it's good. Oh really? Because I'm a full-time dancer and I can live as a full-time, with my pay as a full-time dancer. And she says to me that I can't. So in my country, dancer pay is very poor. So I have to do another job and dance as a part-time only. So I think the Indonesia dance scene is very, very growing.
Okay.
Yes, because I can live as a full-time dancer and she cannot in her country. So, but I cannot say this like 10 years ago. But now I can say this. So the Indonesia dancing is very growing, and I think the way Indonesian people celebrate Dance Day is we celebrate it every day. Because Indonesian people loves to dance. And so we see every generation dancing, we see little kids dancing, we see older people dancing. So we celebrate it every day because dance is a culture in Indonesia.
Yeah, and especially with the traditional dance as well.
Yeah. I think luckily we're in Indonesia. We love to celebrate anything from the marriage, from the, like if your son kind of like stepping into the earth, we celebrate things, and then we usually invite dancers to join the party. But again, when Ella say that we can live as a dancer, or maybe we can live as a like a dance worker or creative worker, I think Indonesia has an opportunity, give us possibility to work flexible in whatever role we want. For example, like other than dancer, Nala is also producer. Other than a researcher, he's also a rapper. So myself, like other than a producer, I work for anything else. I mean, like the flexibility itself makes us reach in terms of quality. I'm not mentioning about the number here, but the emotion, like the social needs. So it can improve us as a person and maybe as a dancer or producer or anything in dance.
And the good thing is more people are aware with that from time to time, especially after the pandemic. And we are going to take a short break, maybe listen to Dave's rapping for a bit. And we'll be back after this one. We're back on the special dialogue on International Dance Day, or we call it World Dance Day. So there are two hashtags if you want to post something on your social media. And now, we would like to know, we already talked about the history briefly about this special day. And we would like to know, because you are from like different backgrounds and who you are at the moment to make this dancing in Indonesia more progressing and also moving forward. And it's such a good news that Nala already mentioned how she as a dancer as well can live if it's compared to 10 years ago. So it's a good sign. The scene is progressing. And Nala, can you share with our viewers your personal journey?
So dancing has been on my life since I was very little. So my parents founded Eki Dance Company in 1996, which is 1 year after I was born.
Okay.
So my life has been in the studio since then. I watch all the dancers rehearsing every day, and when I was like, I think in senior high school, I decided to join Eki Dance Company as a part-time dancer. And after that, after I graduated, I decided to join as a full-time dancer since then. So I didn't went to university. I go straight to Eki and dance since then until now. So that is my dancing journey. And but in that journey, I discovered that I need to learn more as a dancer, so I do singing also and acting also, because I need to expand more, I think, as a dancer. So in Indonesia, especially now, because Indonesia dancing is integrating with musicals. So now it's integrating with musicals. So if you're a triple threat, that is a very plus point. So in Eki Dance Company, we encourage our dancers to also learn to act and also learn to sing. So we have acting classes, we have singing classes also in Eki, so they can do musicals also. Yeah.
Okay. And what are the works that Eki Dance Company itself has done, and also what are your plans in the future for Eki?
So, Eki Dance Company has done, the latest one is Candides musical.
I was there.
Yeah.
I watched you.
Yeah. So that is the latest one. Last year we did Candides and Festival Musical Indonesia. So Eki is collaborating with Ciputra Artpreneur and Kemendikbud to create Festival Musical Indonesia, which is a festival for musical communities in Indonesia. Because we have like Java Jazz, we have like Indonesia Dance Festival, but we don't have a festival for the musical people. So we created Festival Musical Indonesia with Ciputra Artpreneur and Kemendikbud, and it's going to we're going to hold it again this year on October. And for Eki itself, we're going to collaborate with Cecilia Ballet School.
Oh, okay.
Because we every day, Eki Dance Company dancers have a ballet class at 9 a.m. until 11:30 or until the teacher says done. So we never know. With Cecilia Ballet School teacher, which is Mbak Ade. And we're going to collaborate with the students from Cecilia Ballet School, and we're going to create a performance on 21st July.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Do you remember what was the first show that Eki Dance Company had?
The first show, this is interesting, the first show that Eki Dance Company had is Candides.
Okay.
So it's the first show that Eki Dance Company had, and the first show that my father directed. And unfortunately, my father passed away last year, so it's the last show that he directed is also Candides. Yeah.
And now you're here to continue his legacy.
Yes.
Hopefully. And then Kenya, how about you? You can share with us your personal journey and how you get here, and with everything that you do, because I believe when I do some research on Kenya and also Dave, there are so many things that they do in terms of art and also, in Indonesia.
Yeah, I don't know where to start, but I think same as Nala. I think we're born in around studio and stage because also my father is an artist. But it's funny because I started from young, but it's for traditional dance, so Balinese and Javanese basically. I danced until I got in college in Bandung. But then I remember my father once said that, please do not take major in arts because arts come naturally and instinctively. What you have to do is to learn something that can open your mind strategically, theoretically, or maybe like analytically and critically. So I took design major, and in interior design major, I researched about the space and performing arts, how it's intertwined each other. So basically, I'm curious about why Balinese dance or ballet dance or Javanese dance has a different blocking or a moving choreography. So I researched about the space and the venue. And then after that, I started to realize that my interest is actually become broader. Like I'm not really thinking about just dance, but more about the concept and where it should be showed and how to make sure that everything intact. So it's gonna be like a good performance. So basically, I started to become a producer on my own works. And then I start Group ID after I graduate in 2013. Focusing on how to make in traditional much more modern because I mean like it's hard to just talking about traditional stuff when it comes to modern people, so I try to combine them too. And then it takes for me like 4 or 5 years before I decided to continue my school to UK in UCL. But then in UCL I didn't take a practical research but more about the theoretical research because I'm so curious about what happened in the UK, in the New York, why they become a good industry in performing arts.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Indonesia, it's going to be like a challenging, challenge for us. And then I took an anthropology more about the collaboration and enterprising business. So I learned about the performing arts and how to balance about the social thing and monetizing things. So. But the basic is still performing arts. And then, I come back to Indonesia and then I try to continue my foundation and then I got into the dance comedy. So basically, when it comes to the career journey, I couldn't say really that as a dancer or maybe like as a creative worker in Indonesia, we have a linear path.
Yep.
We can be anything we want because the space is still wide. And again, like it's funny because I sometimes curious why as a dancer or singer or anything that in creative industry, we cannot really value as a health worker, for example, as a lawyer, for example. Because I believe we as an artist have a responsibility socially, emotionally, physically, and also the anything about humanity. So that's my mission right now. Like I really want to know more about how Indonesian and our society will value us as an artist, because I swear we're gonna get crazier if we don't have arts in it. So yeah, that's what I do until now.
Okay, how about Dave?
Okay, so about my journey dance related. First, I think I have to apologize to our guests and Nala and Kenya because I'm not even a dancer.
But you're a rapper and we're not.
Maybe the thing that connect us because I also close to the stage. Yeah, I do music, I do rap, and I also enjoy watching dance performance. But it's more, may I say, absurd?
Yeah.
That my background actually is visual arts.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned visual arts, graphic design. So I can do drawing, painting, while my long time interest is also writing. So maybe I want to share about when we will join the council. We have interview session. By that time, Ibu Dolorosa Sinaga, who interviewed me, she saw my CV and said, "You are from visual arts background, right?" "Yes, Bu." "Then why you want to join dance committee?"
Yeah.
So I answer, first I want to expand myself because during my relation with visual art, I began to see, like related to dance, I began to see that the dancer movement is like lines. The floor pattern is like grid lines. So I can connect my visual art background and dance that I interpret with my reference. And then about the writing, it also related with my master degree. Also, before join the council, I was an outsource at the council. Start also in visual art section, and after that, previous dance committee leader, which is Dr. Yula Yulvianti, she encouraged me to research the archives of dance committee. We have many archives of media from the past, so I have to do research, and I start to write about dance.
As the art workers here and the fighters, do you see like your future to be still in this field, especially in Indonesia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, yes,
You're
yes.
we're optimistic.
Obviously, because as I say, it's different from 10 years ago. Because I remember 10 years ago when I tell my friends that I won't go to university, I will go straight to dancing. And my friends were like, are you sure? You should still go to university, you should still have a degree. But now, when I said to the people that I didn't went to university, I go straight to dancing, and they were like, "Good for you! You know your passion from since you were little. Good for you." So it's very different from like 10 years ago. So of course, obviously, I see my future in dancing.
For me, it's when it comes to the future, I really don't know where to see. But yeah, I think same as Nala, I can see that actually whoever works in art, we all have faith in whatever we do. Like it becomes a spiritual journey because we have to deal with uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to the reality, what is challenge us the most is nowadays become generalist or specialist. That's why when Nala say that people congratulate you because you choose to be a dancer, you choose to be a specialist. But nowadays the challenge for our younger generation is we demand to be a generalist because you have to be, you have to learn that, you have to understand this, but actually just don't forget that sometimes it's good to be a specialist. That's what we need in dance ecosystem. For example, if you're good in dancer and technical, just focus on that, and then let other people do the producing stuff, let other people do the critics if you can write. But actually, we need a lot of roles surrounding us. I think that's what I believe in the future. If you choose the role, what kind of role do you want to be in this dance scene? It's actually helpful to each other. Other than just, like, I just want to be a dancer, but I don't know where to go, but just try to be focused on the things you really like, and then you can take dance as something that you research, for example, or maybe things that you work on. So, yeah, back again, if you ask, like, what is in the future, like, I believe, this kind of work gonna be, like, brighter in the future. Amen.
Amen to that. How about Dave?
Yeah. I think the future is challenging.
Yeah.
But maybe let's back to the basic understanding of art, particularly dance. That maybe this is more philosophical.
Yeah, more philosophical.
That what we understand about career nowadays is about make money, is about make living, while art originally basically is to make life.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic that we also have needs to fulfill.
Yeah.
So I think the challenging things is how to balance this matter of life and living. So maybe I have some notes here that if you're sure that you will do this for life, then we have to realize that it cannot be instant. It's it's uncomfort.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, a lot of artwork. So maybe to summarize, the challenge in the future will be to keep the endurance.
Yeah, just keep on going and then be disciplined as well.
And have faith.
Have faith. Yeah, true. And there's a saying also, make art, not war, right? And we will talk about that a little bit more, how dance can unite people all over the world on this very special day, International Dance Day, on TVRI's Special Dialogue. Welcome back to TVRI's World Special Dialogue on World Dance Day or International Dance Day. One of the initiatives for this day is to raise awareness of the physical and mental health for dancers, but not only dancers, we all in the world can celebrate it through dance, especially today, because by dancing, you're also celebrating life. You feel alive when you're dancing. And what's the correlation? Maybe Dave can answer this specific question, how it's obvious that a dancer should keep their physical and mental health, but how about it can affect other people as well who wants to learn dancing, who wants to learn performing arts?
Yeah, I believe to be alive is to be healthy first.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So if we connect the dance with the matter of physical and mental health, I think let's say the key sentence will be dance represents human need of expression. Yeah. For example, like logically, if we want to have healthy body, then we have to do sport, and we can do dance. Yeah, like today there are many dance class available that suit us. We may choose. You want to do, you want to join hip hop class, K-pop class, Latin. Yeah, I think Nala knows better than me. Yeah, so we can also do dance for fun. Let's say maybe not join certain or specific class, or just by let's say join a collective or community. So that's yeah, still in my vision, we will gain more and wider benefit. Yeah, I think that's all for now. That's my concern.
Yeah. And especially with the social media nowadays, people we can see like they're not afraid anymore or not ashamed anymore to show some move. And we also talked about like how Indonesia love to celebration. And then you can see like people can go dancing anywhere. It's not only in Indonesia but also in around the world. You can see people on the street just put the phone there and then they just dance. And what do you think, Nala, about the future of like dancing? Will it be like, as Dave mentioned as well, it has become wider. Will it be like going wider?
I think it will be going brighter in the future, because for the audience, if I compare it from before pandemic, the audience is growing larger and larger for dance performances. So we did World Ballet Day, not World Dance Day. We did World Ballet Day with Ballet ID before, last year in Postblok. And it was packed. So people want to come and see dance now. But we still need to reach larger audience. But so that's why Eki went to musicals, because not many people can watch dance straight for like 20 minutes. They feel like it's too boring. I need something more. So in musicals, we combine the dance with acting, with singing, so we can reach larger audience. So we can reach more awareness for dance. That's why we went to musical, and that's why we created Festival Musical Indonesia because we want to reach larger audience.
Okay, and maybe for Kenya, you learn traditional dances.
Yes.
And how do you see it? Like how traditional dances, Indonesia has like so many traditional dances, and they're all beautiful. People in the world doesn't really know or touch it yet.
Yeah.
And how do you think like it is necessary to combine the traditional dances with internationally known dances, or it can just stand alone as traditional dance?
I mean, like, I think the importance to learn about traditional dance is actually to learn about the core itself, because every single movement has a meaning. And we cannot really change it into or modernize it just because we want to. But what I want to understand or dig more is actually the fact that we are strong with our culture. I believe in ballet, for example. Ballet in Western and ballet in Indonesia has a different, because our body is different, our size is different. So that's what happened also in traditional. Like, I think the older generation has their own physical shape or forms. And then nowadays people has a different physical size or form. So what we have to do about the traditional, we learn about it, we know the core, and if we have interpretation or have any other ideas and we want to combine it, just combine it as whatever you want. Like, but you have to be responsible with what you have, with what you translated, try to translate it. So I mean, like, the most, the most conflicting things, it's because when we try to innovate with the traditional dance, we don't say that is contemporary, or we don't say this is my kind of dance, but we still say it's traditional. It become conflicting because the traditional people will debate things. So I mean, like, if you put something into the classical one, just admit it that it is the modern fashion of yourself. The confidence has to be there, because the story of the traditional has their own roots, and it's the strongest one. We cannot really change it. But yeah, I think we have to be balanced in between preserve and between to innovate it. So we have to go back and forth. We cannot really just stuck in the past, but we cannot really, stubborn in the future. We have to know that Indonesia lives in this two spectrum, and how we combine it as people now in modern era, and become responsible with it, and take the core in every single thing that we learn from the classical one. I think that's how we can, we can maintain our richness of culture.
Yeah, this is getting more interesting, to be honest.
Yeah.
And especially with the issues that is happening in the world today, like the geopolitical issues, the tense everywhere. And maybe dancing or performing arts, still one of the most effective tools that we can see that can unite people together, hopefully. How do you see it?
It's I think, especially in Indonesia, the DNA of our art is a social movement. Because we are attacked from, the history said that. And also I believe in ballet, the first thing that happened is because of social movement. It's to empowering the voices of marginalized people. So we cannot really just take away the DNA. That's why I believe the dance itself still one of the alternative, or maybe like the priority of social movement. And the fact that we can do it together, like lightly, or maybe like we can do it by training it first, but we can do spontaneously, the flexibility doing it, and I think we can do it anywhere and everywhere. That makes dance can be said as a, like a political movement or social movement. And you said that in this situation, like people getting easier to just show their skill in dance, because I think we need to release our endorphin and dopamine from getting stressed, and that's why we need to move our body and break from the routine itself. I think that's dance, the importance of dance.
Yeah, I think it's a piece unspoken language.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe they can add that.
So that's interesting because if we assume our traditional heritage as unspoken language, my opinion is the challenge will be let's make it spoken so we can be heard. Maybe I ever make research and presentation the study case of K-pop, which is the pathway that South Korea choose through, let's say, pop trends, popular trends, and then using technology of social media, YouTube, they combine Western element, but actually it's a pathway later for the global audience meet their culture at roots. So if we try to put that study case in our context, the question I think will be which or what pathway we will choose to meet our roots and then to make our roots spoke so we can be heard. And I think nowadays is, like Nala said, getting wider, getting bigger. There are many intersections. It's like world has been folded.
Yeah.
So it's fine to follow nowadays trends like what happened on social media, but with full awareness. That's my opinion.
But that's a good point. And how do you see it? Even though it's now growing more rapidly, we can say it's more rapidly after the pandemic. But who is the top of the iceberg that you need to break? Who is the biggest challenge, or does it come from your own community? Are the communities working closely together in Indonesia?
I think the biggest challenge is social media, because with social media, with Instagram, with TikTok, they can make 15 seconds look very interesting. So the attention span of the younger generations, or even any generations now, is only 15 seconds. But we can't fit a traditional dance in 15 seconds. We can fit like a ballet performance in 15 seconds. So how can we make a dance that is like 1 hour is as interesting as the 15 seconds TikTok or Instagram? That is the biggest challenge, I think. And so the biggest challenge is social media.
Yeah, technology. But it also comes with a good thing as well.
Yes,
with technology,
yes, of course.
We have like better stage and everything else.
Also have two sides.
Yeah, and also social media can help the marketing as well.
Yes, of course. I don't hate social
but
media,
the attention span is also like it puts some challenge in our lives. And how about if you would like to add like the challenge, biggest challenge?
I don't know how to say it, but in my head, we have to avoid the attitude that the laziness of thinking, is that the right term?
Yeah, I'm about to say so, because back again to the education stuff.
Or maybe let's say question, when we do art, is it you do it as role or profession? Because if we talk about profession, then it's about profit. But if we talk about role, then it's about benefit. So actually, it's all our choice.
I want to add something for the challenge. I think the challenge is to make our traditional dances relatable to the younger generation. So as Kenya said, Indonesia is divided into two, the traditional and the younger one. So how to make this one relatable to this one? And as Eki did on Candida's last year, we take Candida's story, but we add rap in it and we add hip-hop components in it, because we want to make Candida's story, and we add the the Candida's Ken Umang part. So we want to make the story more relatable to the younger generation, so they can learn from the story. But I think that is the challenge, because not many tradition is as flexible as that in Indonesia, if I may say so. So that is the the challenge, because the younger generation don't want to see or preserve something is not relatable to them. So that, I think that is the biggest challenge also.
Yeah.
How to merge those two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think our homework is back again to the education. Back again, my experience back then when I was studied in the UK, I can see people from, I mean like the toddlers, they started to read Shakespeare. They know about stage life, they know about arts. So we cannot really separate curriculum with the youngest, I mean the educators and also the audience, because the earliest we show them, we introduce them about the arts, they're gonna like appreciate it naturally. Right now we're so hard worker, yeah. I mean like we're so hard worker to kind of like introduce to audience that is various audience, because let's just be real, in Indonesia we're not really settled yet as a country. Not every single one has a privilege to watch a show. Like we're still struggle in our everyday lives, and we cannot really just say that why don't you come and appreciate me while they're struggling to make every ends meet. So I think when it comes to the challenge, the roots of the challenge is actually back to the education itself. And after education, maybe we can solve the problem with the attention span, and then we can solve the literacy education, so that people or youngest generation can read about the history and then they make it like modernized or relatable. And then that's to solve, Kak Dave said about the lazy thinking, you know, like because with education we can have the critical thinking. That's what I really want to, us together as a society, realize more about the importance of art education since the beginning.
Yeah, and again, we can say like doing art is a calling, and then to stay on that path is a choice. And you have to fight yourself as the biggest challenges to do this and to pursue our other goals, dreams, and then to spread other like happiness and love through this very lovely day that we celebrate World Dance Day. And we really hope that there are more people like you guys here. Thank you again, like Nala, King, and also David, to share all your valuable experience, knowledge in arts and also dancing, more specifically here on TVR's World Special Dialogue on World Dance Day, or International Dance Day, that we commemorate on this day, April 29th. Now, happy dancing, everyone. Let's dance. Let's dance. Oh, since Nala has already mentioned that, why don't we take a look at Nala, who will be performing, especially for TVR World.
We're going to perform together
on International Dance Day. So once again, happy International Dance Day, or happy World Dance Day.